Senior cartographer Vethnal had served the Galactic Cartography Guild for over 200 years. In all that time, he had never submitted a report that made him nervous. Today was different. Today, his three-fingered hands trembled as he walked toward the High Council chamber. Carrying data that would shake the foundations of everything the Guild believed, the Galactic Cartography Guild was the oldest institution in known space. For 12,000 years, they had mapped every star, every planet, every asteroid field in the galaxy. Their charts were used by traders, explorers, military fleets, and colonization teams. When the Guild said a region was empty, it was empty. When they said a planet was habitable, civilizations built their futures on that information. The Guild did not make mistakes, but Vethnal was about to tell them that they had been making one for over 600 years. The council chamber was a massive dome of living crystal, grown over millennia by the founding species of the Guild. 12 elders sat in floating chairs arranged in a circle, representing the 12 most ancient civilizations in the Galactic Council. They looked down at Vethnal with expressions ranging from boredom to mild curiosity. Routine reports rarely required the attention of all 12 elders, but Vethnal had flagged this one as urgent. "Speak," commanded Elder Crixmaw, his crystalline body catching the light from 100 floating orbs. "What has brought you before us with such urgency?" Vethnal activated his holographic display. A map of the galaxy appeared in the center of the chamber, slowly rotating. He zoomed in on a small region near the outer arm, a sector that most cartographers considered unremarkable.
Elders.
"I have been reviewing the survey data from Sector 7G, the region surrounding the star designated Sol. According to our records, this sector has been surveyed 17 times over the past 600 years. Every survey has returned the same result: empty space. Standard radiation patterns. No planets capable of supporting life. Nothing of interest." Elder Yerkstel, whose species communicated through color changes in their skin, shifted to a pattern of mild impatience. "And this is urgent because the data is wrong." Vethnal took a deep breath. "Not just inaccurate, deliberately falsified." The chamber fell silent. In 12,000 years of operation, no one had ever accused the Guild's instruments of producing false data. The very suggestion was close to blasphemy. "Explain yourself," Elder Crixmaw said, his voice carrying a dangerous edge. Vethnal manipulated his display, bringing up raw sensor readings. 3 months ago, I was conducting a routine verification of historical surveys. Standard procedure, nothing unusual. But when I examined the data from Sector 7G, I noticed anomalies. Small things at first. Radiation patterns that repeated too perfectly. Gravitational readings that were too uniform. I thought it was a calibration error, so I requested a new probe be sent to the sector. He paused, his membranes flickering with barely contained anxiety. The probe entered the sector and began transmitting standard survey data. Empty space. Background radiation. Nothing unusual. But then, I did something that had never been done before. I cross-referenced the probe's internal diagnostics with its external transmissions. A new image appeared on the display. 2 sets of data side by side. They were completely different. The probe's internal sensors detected massive energy signatures. Electromagnetic emissions consistent with advanced technology. Gravitational distortions suggesting planetary bodies. And thousands of artificial objects in stable orbits. But none of this appeared in the data the probe transmitted back to us. Something in that sector was intercepting the probe's transmissions and replacing them with false information. The elders began speaking over one another, their voices mixing into a chaos of disbelief and accusation. Elder Crixmaw raised one crystalline limb, and silence fell instantly. "You're telling us," he said slowly, "that for 600 years, an unknown civilization has been feeding false data to our most sophisticated instruments?" "Yes, Elder. That is impossible. No species possesses technology capable of deceiving Guild sensors. We would have detected any such development." Vethnal straightened his spine, finding courage he did not know he possessed. "With respect, Elder, that assumption is precisely what this civilization was counting on. We never looked closely because we had no reason to. An empty sector warranted no special attention. They used our own confidence against us. Elder Yerkstel's skin shifted through colors of deep concern. If your findings are accurate, this species has had 600 years to develop without council oversight. 600 years without categorization, without limitations, without supervision. Longer than that, Vethnal corrected quietly. The first surveys of that sector predate our current records. If they have been hiding since we first looked in their direction, they could have been developing for much longer. Perhaps thousands of years. The implications hung in the air like poison gas. The categorization system existed for a reason. Young species were dangerous. They grew too quickly, consumed too many resources, developed weapons before they developed wisdom. The Council had learned this lesson the hard way, through wars that had nearly destroyed entire galactic regions. Now, every emerging civilization was identified, evaluated, and assigned a category. Useful species were integrated into Council society. Dangerous species were neutralized before they could become a threat. But what happened when a species grew in secret? What happened when they had centuries to develop without the Council's guiding hand? "We must send an expedition," Elder Crixma announced. "A full survey fleet with military escort. We need to know what is hiding in that darkness."
Wow.
On the third planet, orbiting the star called Sol, Commander Lisa Hartwell watched the Council's decision unfold on her monitor. Human listening posts had been intercepting galactic communications for over 200 years. They knew about the Guild's discovery almost as soon as the Elders did. She turned to her second-in-command. A young officer named Danny Morrison, who had grown up hearing stories about the day. Humanity would finally step out of the shadows. "They are coming," she said simply. Danny nodded, his expression calm despite the magnitude of the moment. "Should I notify the Defense Council?" "Already done. They made their decision 300 years ago. We knew this day would come eventually." Lisa stood and walked to the observation window, looking out at the blue marble of Earth hanging in the void. "Our ancestors built the veil to buy us time. Time to learn, to grow, to prepare. That time is almost over. Are we ready?" Danny asked. Lisa thought about the fleets hidden behind the veil, colonies spread across a dozen star systems, the technologies that would seem like magic to the ancient civilizations of the Council. She thought about 3 centuries of preparation, 3 centuries of watching and learning and building. "We are about to find out," she replied. "But I can tell you one thing. When they come looking for answers, they are going to find a lot more than they expected. The maps go dark at our borders for a reason, Danny. And that reason is not weakness." She turned back to her station, already composing the message that would alert humanity to prepare for first contact. After 300 years of hiding, Earth was about to announce its presence to the galaxy, and the galaxy would never be the same. The technology that protected Earth from galactic detection had a name that most humans never learned. Military personnel called it the Veil. Scientists called it the Ithsira Field, after the being who had given humanity the knowledge to build it, but most people simply called it the reason they were still alive. The story began in 1947. In a desert in New Mexico, a spacecraft had fallen from the sky and crashed into the dry earth, leaving a trail of debris that stretched for nearly a mile. The United States military had arrived first, securing the area before anyone else could see what had landed. What they found inside the wreckage would change the course of human history. Ambassador Whitezero was not human. Her body was long and thin, covered in scales that shifted color with her emotions. She had 4 arms, 2 legs, and eyes that seemed to contain entire galaxies. When the soldiers found her, she was dying. The crash had broken something inside her that could not be repaired with human medicine or her own advanced technology. But she had enough time to deliver a warning. "You are not alone," she had told the Small. A group of military officers and scientists gathered around her. Her voice was strange, like music played on an instrument no human had ever heard. "The galaxy is full of life. Thousands of civilizations, millions of worlds, and they will find you. It is only a matter of time." The officers had asked the obvious question. Was that a good thing? Were these civilizations friendly? Would they welcome humanity into some kind of cosmic community? If Syrah's scales had shifted to a deep, sorrowful purple. No, she had whispered. They will destroy you. She had explained the truth about galactic civilization. The Galactic Council was not a democracy. It was not a federation of equals working together for mutual benefit. It was a hierarchy, controlled by ancient species who had been ruling the stars for longer than humans had existed as a species. These elders saw younger civilizations not as potential allies, but as potential threats. They have a system, YTH Syrah had continued, her voice growing weaker. They call it categorization. When they find a new species, they evaluate it. If the species is weak and obedient, it becomes a servant race. Workers, soldiers, entertainment for the elders. If the species is strong and independent, it becomes a target. They will destroy you before you become powerful enough to challenge them. What about your people? One of the scientists had asked. What happened to them? The ambassador's scales had turned black, the color of grief beyond words. We hid. For 10,000 years, we hid. We developed technology that made our worlds invisible to their sensors. We thought we were safe. Sound that might have been a laugh or a sob escaped her throat. We were wrong. They found us eventually. They always do. My people are gone now. Scattered, enslaved, destroyed. I am one of the last. The room had fallen silent. The weight of her words pressed down on everyone present. Humanity was not ready for this. They had barely reached their own moon. How could they possibly defend themselves against civilizations that had been traveling between stars for millennia? But Syrah had not come to deliver only despair. With her final breaths, she had given humanity a gift. I cannot save my people, she had said, but perhaps I can save yours. In my ship, there are files, technology, knowledge that took my civilization 10,000 years to develop. The secrets of the Veil, take them. Learn from them. Improve upon them. And when the Council finally looks in your direction, make sure they see nothing. She had died moments later, her scales fading to a dull gray as the life left her body. The humans had honored her sacrifice by doing exactly what she asked. For nearly 300 years, humanity had worked in secret. The technology from YTH Syrah's ship was beyond anything Earth scientists had imagined. It took decades just to understand the basic principles. But humans were nothing if not determined. They studied, experimented, failed, and tried again. By the end of the 20th century, they had built the first prototype of the Veil generator. The Veil did not simply hide Earth from observation. It projected a carefully crafted illusion. Empty space, standard radiation, the cosmic equivalent of a blank wall. When alien probes scanned the solar system, they saw exactly what the Veil wanted them to see. Nothing interesting. Nothing worth investigating. Nothing that would attract attention. Admiral Gary Bennett stood in the Pentagon's deepest bunker, looking at a holographic display that showed the true extent of human expansion. Behind the Veil, hidden from galactic observation, humanity had not been idle. 37 colonies, he announced to the assembled military leaders. 12 star systems. All of them protected by secondary veils. All connected by jump corridors that do not appear on any galactic sensor array. General Patricia Vaughn studied the display with the eyes of a woman who had spent her entire career preparing for a war she hoped would never come. And our military capability? 400 capital ships, 12,000 fighters, planetary defense systems on every colony. Weapons technology that we believe is several generations ahead of anything the Council possesses. Gary paused. We have not been wasting our time. How did we advance so quickly? Asked a younger officer who had not been briefed on the full scope of humanity's secret history. Gary turned to face him. Ambassador YTH Syrah gave us more than just cloaking technology. She gave us access to the Resistance archives. Every civilization the Council has destroyed or enslaved over the past 10,000 years left behind records. Survivors who escaped, refugees who found temporary sanctuary, scientists who hid their discoveries rather than let them fall into Council hands. We have been learning from their successes and their failures. He activated another display. showing images of alien technology being studied by human scientists. We learned faster than light travel from the Kosneth, who were exterminated 3,000 years ago. We learned energy shielding from the Velthari, who were enslaved and scattered across 100 worlds. We learned advanced materials science from the primordial architects, whose civilization was so old that even the council elders had forgotten their name. Gary's voice hardened. The council thought they had erased these species from history. They were wrong. Every civilization they destroyed taught us something. Every species they enslaved contributed to our development. Patricia absorbed this information, then asked the question that was on everyone's mind. And now they are coming. What do? We do what we have always planned to do, Gary replied. We reveal ourselves on our own terms. We show them that humanity is not a young species to be categorized and controlled. We are something new, something they have never encountered before. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. We are the students of every civilization they have ever crushed. And class is finally in session. The message from Commander Lisa Hartwell arrived moments later, confirming what they already knew. The Galactic Council was sending an expedition. The Veil had done its job for 300 years. But now the darkness was attracting attention instead of deflecting it. Humanity had always known this day would come. They had prepared for it, trained for it, built entire civilizations. Behind their wall of deception, while waiting for the moment when hiding was no longer possible, that moment had arrived. And Earth was ready. Admiral Vrexion had commanded Galactic Council fleets for over 3 centuries. He had fought in 11 wars, supervised the categorization of 23 emerging species, and personally overseen the pacification of 4 civilizations that had resisted Council authority. In all that time, he had never encountered a situation he could not handle. His fleet emerged from faster than light. Travel at the edge of the Sol system with 17 warships and a diplomatic cruiser. It was a standard first contact formation, designed to project both strength and the willingness to negotiate. Most species, when confronted with this much firepower, chose negotiation. Sensors are online, reported his tactical officer. A being whose species had been bred for military service over countless generations. Scanning the sector now, Vrexion waited with the patience of a predator who knew his prey could not escape. The Cartography Guild's report had been concerning, certainly. The idea that some primitive species had been manipulating survey data was troubling, but he had seen this before. Young civilizations sometimes developed limited stealth capabilities. They thought they were clever, hiding from the Council's eyes. They were always wrong, Admiral, the tactical officer said, his voice carrying an unusual note of uncertainty. I am detecting energy signatures throughout the system, massive ones. There are artificial structures around every planet, shipyards, defense platforms, and ... He paused, checking his readings. There is a fleet approaching our position. Size and composition. 32 vessels, Admiral. Configuration unknown. They are moving in perfect formation, and they are fast. Much faster than our ships. Vrexion felt the first small seed of doubt plant itself in his mind. He pushed it aside. Speed and numbers meant nothing against Council technology and experience. Open a channel. Standard first contact protocol. Before his communications officer could comply, the main view screen flickered to life. A human face appeared, belonging to a male of their species wearing a uniform that Vrexion did not recognize. His expression was calm, almost friendly, but his eyes held something that the Admiral could not quite identify. Admiral Vrexion, the human said in perfect galactic standard. I am Captain Kevin Marshall of the Earth spaceship Harbinger. Welcome to human space. Though the bridge crew exchanged glances of surprise. No emerging species should know galactic standard. The language was taught only after categorization, as part of the integration process. How did these creatures learn it? Vrexion composed himself quickly. He had dealt with surprises before. Captain Marshall, I must inform you that your species has been developing without proper registration with the Galactic Council. This is a violation of the emergence protocols. You will need to submit to categorization and accept Council oversight. The human smiled. It was a strange expression, showing teeth in a way that seemed almost threatening. "Admiral, I think you have misunderstood the situation. We are not an emerging species requesting membership in your council. We are a sovereign power that has chosen to reveal itself. This region of space is under human protection. You are here as our guests, not as our superiors." Phyrexion felt his scales tighten with irritation. Young species were often arrogant in their first contact with the council. It was a phase that passed quickly once they understood the reality of galactic power structures. "Captain, I understand that this is a significant moment for your people. First contact with advanced civilizations can be overwhelming. But I must be clear. The Galactic Council has governed this galaxy for 12,000 years. Your species is young. You cannot possibly understand the complexities of interstellar politics. The categorization process exists to help species like yours find their proper place in the galactic community." Kevin's smile did not waver. "Our proper place? Tell me, Admiral, what categories does the Council use? That is not something we discuss with pre-categorization species. Let me guess then. Useful species become servants. Workers, soldiers, entertainment for the elder races. D. Angorous species become extinct, eliminated before they can challenge council authority. Species that are neither useful nor dangerous are simply absorbed, their cultures erased, their identities dissolved into the greater galactic collective." Kevin leaned forward slightly. "How am I doing so far?" Phyrexion felt the seed of doubt growing larger. No emerging species should know this. The categorization protocols were among the most closely guarded secrets in council space. Servants knew only their role. Eliminated species took their knowledge to extinction. How did these humans learn the truth? "You have been misinformed," he said carefully. "The Council seeks only to guide younger species toward peaceful coexistence." "We have not been misinformed, Admiral. We have been watching. For 300 years, we have intercepted your communications, studied your history, learned your secrets." Kevin's voice hardened. "We know about the Kosneth. We know about the Velthari. We know about the 27 civilizations your council has destroyed or enslaved since it first began its rule. We are not interested in becoming number 28. The bridge fell silent. Phyrexion looked at his tactical display, studying the human ships that had arranged themselves in a formation that his military training told him was defensive, but also perfectly positioned for a devastating first strike. "What do you want?" he asked finally. "We want you to leave. Return to council space. Tell your masters that the Sol system and its surrounding territories are no longer a mystery to be solved. They are sovereign human space, protected by human ships and human weapons. Any species that wishes to engage with us peacefully is welcome to send diplomatic envoys. Any species that threatens us will discover why the maps went dark at our borders in the first place." Phyrexion made his decision. He had not risen to the rank of admiral by backing down from challenges. These humans were confident, yes, but confidence meant nothing against proven military superiority. They had been developing in secret for a few centuries at most. The Council had been perfecting warfare for 12,000 years. "Captain Marshall, I am afraid I cannot accept your terms. You will stand down your vessels and submit to categorization, or I will be forced to take military action." Kevin nodded slowly, as if he had expected this response. "Admiral, I want you to understand something. We do not want war. We have spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment because we hoped we could avoid bloodshed through strength. But if you force our hand, we will respond. And you will not like what happens next." "Your threats do not concern me," Phyrexion replied. "All vessels advance to combat formation. Disable their ships but minimize casualties. The Council prefers to categorize living specimens." The Council fleet moved forward, weapons powering up, confident in their 12,000 years of military supremacy. What happened next would change galactic history forever. The human ships did not retreat. They did not even seem concerned. Instead, they simply vanished, disappearing from sensors completely. Phyrexian's tactical officer frantically searched for them, but there was nothing. Empty space where 32 warships had been moments before. Then they reappeared, not in front of the Council fleet, but behind it, above it, and below it. They had surrounded the entire formation in the time it took Vrexion to draw a single breath. The first shots were fired before anyone could react. Weapons that the Council had never seen, producing effects that their shields could not stop. Ships that had withstood centuries of warfare crumpled like paper under the human assault. 11 minutes later, it was over. 14 Council warships drifted dead in space, their crews alive, but their vessels completely disabled. 2 ships had been destroyed when they refused to stop firing. The diplomatic cruiser had been boarded and captured without a single human casualty. Admiral Vrexion stood on his darkened bridge, surrounded by the wreckage of his certainty. Finally understanding that everything the Council believed about young species was wrong, humanity was not young. They were something far more dangerous. They were patient. The holding cell on the human station was surprisingly comfortable. Admiral Vrexion had expected chains, torture devices, the kind of brutal treatment that the Council used on captured enemies. Instead, he found a clean room with a soft bed, adequate lighting, and food that, while unfamiliar, was clearly designed to meet his nutritional needs. This kindness disturbed him more than cruelty would have. He had been in the cell for 3 days when Commander Lisa Hartwell finally came to see him. She was a small creature by galactic standards, barely reaching his chest in height. With soft skin and fragile bones that would break under the lightest pressure. And yet, when she entered the room and sat down across from him, Vrexion felt something he had not experienced in 3 centuries of military service. Fear, not the fear of death. He had faced death many times and made peace with it long ago. This was something different. This was the fear of a predator who suddenly realizes that he has become prey. Admiral Lisa said, her voice calm and professional. "Thank you for agreeing to speak with me. I was not aware I had a choice." "That is something your Council never understood." She activated a small device on her wrist, and a holographic display appeared in the air between them. "I want to show you something." The display showed images of alien species, dozens of them. Vrexion recognized some from historical records. Others were completely unknown to him. All of them shared one thing in common. They no longer existed as free civilizations. "Do you know what these are?" Lisa asked. "Former species," Vrexion replied carefully. "Civilizations that were categorized by the Council over the millennia." Categorized. That is a pleasant word for what actually happened, is it not? Lisa's voice remained calm, but her eyes had hardened. The Kosneth were exterminated 3,000 years ago, because they refused to surrender their homeworld for Council mining operations. The Velthari were enslaved because their artistic abilities made them valuable entertainment for the elder races. The primordial architects were erased from history so completely that even the Council forgot they existed. 27 civilizations, Admiral. 27 species destroyed or enslaved because your Council decided they were either useful or dangerous. Vrexion said nothing. These were not secrets he was authorized to discuss with outsiders. "Do you know why we hid?" Lisa continued. "It was not because we were afraid." "Well, no, that is not entirely true. We were afraid at first. When Ambassador Ithsira told us the truth about the galaxy, we were terrified. A young species with no faster-than-light travel, no energy weapons, no defense against civilizations that had been ruling the stars for longer than we had existed. We had every reason to be afraid." She leaned forward, her gaze locking with his. But fear passed. What replaced it was something much more powerful: determination. We decided that we would not become the 28th species on your list. We would not be categorized, enslaved, or destroyed. We would hide, yes, but not forever. Only until we were strong enough to stand on our own. 3 centuries is not enough time, Vrexion said. No species develops this quickly. It is impossible. Impossible by your standards, Lisa agreed. But you forgot something important. You forgot that every species you destroyed left something behind. Records, technology, survivors who escaped your purges. Ambassador YTH Sira gave us access to the Resistance archives. the collected knowledge of every civilization that ever opposed the Council. We did not develop our technology from scratch. We learned from the mistakes and successes of everyone who came before us. The holographic display changed, showing images of human scientists working alongside alien technology. Rexion recognized components from a dozen different species, all of them supposedly extinct or enslaved. The Kosneth taught us faster-than-light travel. The Velthari taught us energy shielding. The primordial architects taught us materials science that your council cannot comprehend. And 1,000 other species, each one contributing something to our development. Lisa smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Your council spent 12,000 years crushing civilizations. We spent 3 centuries learning from them. Which approach do you think was more productive? Rexion processed this information slowly. The implications were staggering. If the humans had truly consolidated the knowledge of dozens of extinct species, they might possess technology that even the elder races had never seen. They might know secrets that had been lost to the galaxy for millennia. What do you want? He asked finally. Revenge? Conquest? You could have destroyed my fleet completely. Why did you spare us? Because we are not you. Lisa deactivated the display and folded her hands in her lap. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want to destroy the Council or become the new masters of known space. We want something much simpler. The right to exist on our own terms. The Council will never accept that. You are a threat to everything they have built, you know. That is why we are not asking for their acceptance. We are telling them how things are going to be from now on. Lisa stood and walked to the cell's small window, looking out at the stars. Your fleet is going to be repaired and returned to Council space. You are going to deliver a message. The Sol system and its surrounding territories are sovereign human space. Any species that approaches us in peace will be welcomed. Any species that threatens us will be destroyed. They will send more fleets, larger ones. The elder races will not tolerate defiance. Let them come. Lisa turned back to face him. Admiral, do you know why the maps go dark at our borders? It is not just because we are hiding. It is because we control what information leaves our space. Every probe, every signal, every scanner beam that enters human territory shows exactly what we want it to show. We have been doing this for 300 years. Do you really think your council can develop countermeasures overnight? Rexion thought about the battle he had just lost. 11 minutes. His entire fleet neutralized in 11 minutes by weapons he had never seen, tactics he could not comprehend, ships that seemed to appear and disappear at will. If this was what humanity could do when they chose to reveal themselves, what could they do when they remained hidden? You are making a mistake, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. The Council has resources you cannot imagine. Ancient weapons, forbidden technologies, secrets that predate the current elder races. We know about most of those, Lisa replied calmly. The Resistance archives were very thorough, but thank you for confirming that they exist. She moved toward the door. You will be released within the week. I hope you will deliver our message accurately. The alternative would be unpleasant for everyone. She paused at the threshold, turning back one final time.
Add one more thing, Admiral.
Ambassador Ithsira died alone on a strange world, trying to save a species she had never met. Her people are gone, scattered across the galaxy as slaves or refugees. But she gave us a gift, and we honored it. When humans finally step out of the shadows, it will not be as conquerors. It will be as protectors. Any species that the Council has wronged, any civilization that wants to be free, they can find sanctuary with us. I will make you the enemy of every elder race in the galaxy. Lisa smiled, and this time there was warmth in it. We know. We have been preparing for that war since 1947. The difference between us and the species that came before is simple. We will not lose. And Rexion sat alone in his comfortable cell, trying to understand how a species that had been using stone tools a few thousand years ago had become the most dangerous thing the galaxy had ever seen. The answer, he realized slowly, was in everything Lisa had told him. Humans did not need to be ancient to be powerful. They just needed to learn from everyone who had failed before them, and they had learned very well. Indeed, the Galactic Council's emergency session began 3 days after Admiral Rexion's fleet limped back to Council space. Representatives from 400 worlds gathered in the Great Assembly Hall, structure so massive that it had its own weather patterns. For 12,000 years, this hall had been the center of galactic civilization. Decisions made here had shaped the fate of countless species. Today, it was filled with something that had not been felt in these chambers for millennia. Genuine uncertainty. Elder Crixma presided over the assembly, his crystalline form catching the light from 1,000 floating orbs. He had watched civilizations rise and fall, had personally overseen the categorization of species that no longer existed. In all his long years, he had never faced a situation quite like this. "Admiral Vrexion," he commanded. "Report." The admiral stepped forward, his scales still carrying the dull coloration of defeat. He had not fully recovered from his encounter with the humans, and he suspected he never would. "Elders, representatives, I must inform you that the humans are unlike any species we have previously encountered. Their technology is advanced beyond our current understanding. Their military capabilities exceed our own in every measurable way. And most importantly, they are fully aware of the categorization system and have explicitly rejected it." The hall erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted over one another, some demanding immediate military action, others calling for diplomatic negotiations. The noise continued until Elder Crixma raised a crystalline limb for silence. "You are telling us," he said slowly, "that a species that was using primitive combustion vehicles 3 centuries ago has somehow surpassed the combined technological achievement of 12,000 years of galactic civilization. Not surpassed, Elder, they have consolidated it." Rexion activated a holographic display showing the data he had gathered. The humans have access to the Resistance archives, a collection of knowledge from every species the Council has categorized over the millennia. They have learned from our victories and our enemies' defeats. They are not starting from nothing. They are building on the accumulated knowledge of 27 civilizations. The silence that followed was deafening. The implications were clear to everyone present. The Council's greatest strength had always been its monopoly on advanced technology. That monopoly no longer existed. "What do they want?" asked a representative from one of the younger Council species. Vrexion retrieved the message that Commander Hartwell had given him. "They want recognition as a sovereign power. They want an end to the categorization system. They want any species that wishes to escape Council authority to have the option of seeking human protection." He paused. "And they want us to understand that these are not requests. They are statements of fact." The debate that followed lasted for 19 days. Some argued for war, insisting that no emerging species could be allowed to challenge Council authority. Others pointed out that the species which had just humiliated the Council's finest fleet might not be the wisest target for aggression. In the end, pragmatism won over pride. The Council voted to send a diplomatic mission to human space. 6 months later, Ambassador Jake Crawford stood before the Great Assembly, representing a species that had been hiding in the shadows for 3 centuries. He was a former teacher from a small town in Ohio, chosen not because he was a brilliant diplomat, but because he understood how to explain complicated things to people who did not want to understand them. "For 300 years, he began, "we watched you from the darkness. We saw your wars. We saw your treaties. We saw how you treated species weaker than yourselves. And we made a decision." He paused, letting his words settle over the assembly like a blanket. "We decided that we would not join your community until we could change it." The representatives shifted uncomfortably. This was not the language of a supplicant. This was the language of an equal, or perhaps something more. "The categorization system ends today," Jake continued. "Not tomorrow. Not after further discussion. Today, from this moment forward. Every species in the galaxy has the right to develop without Council oversight. Every civilization has the right to choose its own path. And any species that wishes to escape Council control can request sanctuary in human space." Elder Crixma's crystalline form glowed with barely contained anger. "You do not have the authority to make such demands. You are right, Jake agreed. I do not have authority, but I have something better, capability. 17 species have already requested human protection. Our ships are moving through Council space right now, offering asylum to anyone who wants it. You can try to stop us, but we both know how that would end. He turned to address the broader assembly, his voice carrying to every corner of the vast hall. Humanity does not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want to become the new council, making decisions for species we have never met. We want something simpler, a galaxy where every civilization has the chance to reach its full potential. A galaxy where young species are not crushed before they can grow. A galaxy where the mistakes of the past do not define the possibilities of the future. Jake smiled, and unlike the cold expressions that council representatives were accustomed to, this smile contained genuine warmth. Ambassador Thira died alone on our world, trying to save a species she had never met. Her people were destroyed by this council. Their knowledge, their culture, their very existence was erased from galactic history. But she gave us a gift, and we honored it. Today, we honor it by offering the same gift to every species that has ever been wronged by council authority. He reached into his pocket and produced a small device. When he activated it, a map of the galaxy appeared above the assembly. Large sections of the map glowed with soft blue light, regions that had been dark for decades or centuries. These are the territories we have been protecting, Jake explained. Hidden civilizations that escaped categorization by joining us in the shadows? Species that the Council declared extinct, but survived with our help. In new territories, regions that we are opening for colonization by any species that accepts our principles. The assembly stared at the map in stunned silence. The blue regions were extensive, far larger than anyone had imagined. The humans had not just been hiding themselves, they had been building a parallel civilization hidden in the darkness between the stars. The maps go dark at Earth's borders, Jake said, but they are not going to stay dark forever. We are stepping into the light, and we are inviting everyone who wants a better future to step with us. In the months that followed, the galaxy transformed. Species that had been servants for millennia requested asylum and received it. Civilizations that had lived in fear began to hope. The Council's power did not collapse overnight, but it diminished steadily as more and more worlds chose to follow the humans into a new kind of civilization. The Cartography Guild began. The long process of remapping regions that had been listed as empty for centuries. They found colonies, shipyards, universities, and monuments to fallen civilizations that the Council had tried to erase. They found a galaxy much larger and more diverse than their records had ever suggested. And somewhere in the depths of space, other hidden civilizations watched the humans with something they had not felt in a very long time. Hope. The maps had gone dark at Earth's borders not because humanity was hiding in fear, but because they were preparing for something greater. Now that preparation was complete, and the darkness was not emptiness anymore. It was a shelter for anyone who needed it, a promise to anyone who had been wronged, and a warning to anyone who thought they could stop what was coming. Humanity had emerged from the shadows, and the galaxy would never be the same. The teacher from Ohio stood at the observation window of his diplomatic ship, watching the stars that his species now called neighbors. 300 years of hiding. 300 years of learning. 300 years of preparing for a moment that most humans never believed would come. It had been worth every second. Jake smiled and turned away from the window. There was work to do, alliances to build, and a galaxy to help heal. Humanity had spent 3 centuries in the darkness. Now it was time to share the light. The maps went dark at Earth's borders. But from this day forward, that darkness would spread hope instead of fear, promise instead of threat, and the possibility of a future where every species could reach for the stars without looking over their shoulder. That was the gift Ambassador Thira had given them all. Those years ago, and humanity intended to share it with everyone.